From the rising of the sun to its setting, there is praise given to God who created and creates. There are prayers lifted to the Spirit who guides our steps and is our companion. And there is wonder offered to the person of the Christ, the teacher, the Messiah, the one whom we follow. From the rising of the sun to its setting, around this globe, faithful spirits bring wonder and prayer and praise. May our wonder and prayer and praise bring joy to the very heart of God. Amen. Welcome to worship. Welcome to St. Paul's. Welcome to a sunny Sunday autumn morning. Tomorrow it's autumn, right? So it's still summer, I suppose. So welcome to the summer. We're so glad to be here together, and we would not be complete without you. So in this time of worship, may you know that you are deeply loved, just as you are, for you are a child of God. Once there was someone who said such amazing things and did such amazing things that often people asked him, "Who are you?" And sometimes he said, "I am the light." I am the light. Those who love the light, follow the light. The light's God is among us. Neighbors and friends, welcome home. Joan Allen's setting of the line from the Psalm B is printed in the bulletin. We sing the whole thing and then we drop a phrase at a time.
And just one more note for this, we'll do what Catherine just said, which is familiar to lots of us, but then we'll actually do something else that is unexpected. And so I'll ask you to roll.
I'm not sure how often I've been asked to roll with the songs before. I love this church. In the holiness of this place, we know that you are with us. in the construction of a community set aside to acknowledge the sacred and the holy possible, we are still and we are reverent. We are grateful for the expected and unexpected places where we have glimpsed you this week. In a word of forgiveness, in an instant of joy, in the sheer beauty of the ash trees, yellow and dropping their leaves, and in the unexpected places, the tear in a child's eye, the note of grief from a friend, sitting in traffic surrounded by a busy city, in these unexpected places too. We have seen your grace. And so we lean into your presence in this time, this place we call holy, this time we set aside for the sacred. We expect your love to surround us. And we cannot begin to expect the myriad of ways in which you will call us. Bless us in our securities and in our anticipations. We pray in the name of Jesus. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Oh, the Lord is my light. Oh, the Lord is my light. And the Lord is my sure salvation.
Oh, the Lord is the stronghold of my life. Why should I be afraid?
The Lord is my light. Oh, the Lord is my light. Oh, the Lord is my light. And the Lord is my sure salvation.
Oh, the Lord is the stronghold of my life. Why should I be afraid?
The Lord is my light.
For in my day of trouble, He keeps me safe
listen to the voices as the children find a new way to godly play. We're aware of one another's company. Some old friends beside us in the pew, some whose names we don't remember, and we'll try, but we will ask. Others who are new to us, we are aware that we are gathered here for a moment of stillness, acknowledging that you are God. Pray for the reasons we need to know that you are God and we are not. For the anxieties of this living, the sharing of the church, the neighborhood, the community, the city, the country, the earth, with people who bring different opinions and different ways of doing things. Neighbors, nonetheless. For the grief and the pain that we know are true. For the balm we seek. For the pains that we endure, pains of body, pains of mind, pains of heart. And for the confession we bring. For the times when we have intentionally hurt another one of your beloved creatures. For the times when we have chosen to ignore another rather than offer attention, even though we knew we could do differently. And for the times when we, in our pride, have withheld forgiveness, we acknowledge the amazing nastiness we are capable of, even though we acknowledge that we are good and lovely people, your very children. And so we ask your help as we sift that difference, as we forgive ourselves and one another, as we strive to listen to the ways of Jesus, and to bring your healing to this world in need of balm, of peace, of joy, of abundance. In the ancient book of Psalms is the reassurance that our God raises the poor from the dust, lifts the needy out of the ash heap, and brings us all to sit as princes, as those with abundance, as those surrounded forever and for always with God's compassionate love. Amen. There is a balm in Gilead. You'll find it in, well, you'll find the balm. You found the music at 612 in Voices United.
There is a balm
is from Jeremiah chapter 8, verses 18 through to chapter 9, verse 1. My joy is gone. Grief is upon me. My heart is sick. Hark the cry of my poor people from far and wide in the land. Is the Lord not in Zion? Is her king not in her? Why have they provoked me to anger with their images, with their foreign idols? The harvest is past, the summer ended, and we are not saved. For the hurt of my poor people I am hurt. I mourn, and dismay has taken hold of me. Is there no balm in Gilead? Is there no physician there? Why then has the health of my poor people not been restored? Oh, that my head were a spring of water, and my eyes a fountain of tears, so that I might weep day and night for the slain of my poor people.
And again from the Psalms in Voices United on page 835.
Reading from the book of Luke, chapter 16, verses 1 through 13. If this does not make a lot of sense to you, you are in good company. Here we go. Then Jesus said to the disciples, "There was a rich man who had a manager, and charges were brought to him that this man was squandering his property. So he summoned him and said to him, 'What is this that I hear about you? Give me an accounting of your management, because you cannot be my manager any longer.' Then the manager said to himself, 'What will I do now that my master is taking this position away from me? I am not strong enough to dig, and I am ashamed to beg. I've decided what to do, so that when I am dismissed as manager, people may welcome me into their homes.' So summoning his master's debtors one by one, he asked the first, 'How much do you owe my master?' He answered, 100 jugs of olive oil. He said to him, 'Take your bill, sit down quickly, and make it 50. Then he asked another, 'How much do you owe?' He replied, 100 containers of wheat. He said to him, 'Take your bill and make it 80. And his master commended the dishonest manager because he had acted shrewdly. For the children of this age are more shrewd in dealing with their own generation than are the children of light. And I tell you, make friends for yourself by means of dishonest wealth, so that when it is gone, they may welcome you into the eternal homes. Whoever is faithful in a very little is faithful also in much. And whoever is dishonest in a very little is dishonest also in much. If then you have not been faithful with the dishonest wealth, who will entrust you to the true riches? And if you have not been faithful with what belongs to another, who will give you what is your own? No slave can serve two masters, for a slave will either hate the one and love the other, or be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and wealth. We will now receive our offerings. May God grant understanding to the reading of this word.
This is a very good time to sing number 110 in more voices. Firstborn of Mary, provocative preacher, itinerant teacher, outsider's choice. Jesus inspires and disarms and confuses. 110 in the Coil Handbook. Aren't you glad you came to church? You come to hear about God's love and how this is a place open to everybody, and you think this is exactly what I want. This is exactly what I know to be true. And then Jennifer reads you the passage from Luke. This is clearly not a morality story. There are times when we look into Scripture for guidance on how to act, and this is clearly not one of the places that we turn to. The shrewd manager, the dishonest manager, the one who had squandered what was entrusted to him, and he got caught. Not a morality story. And the boss, the master, the employer whom he had cheated, whose investments he had squandered, praises him. We kind of expect Jesus to say, don't do that. Love your neighbor. Be kind to one another. Be looking after the widows and the orphans. But instead, in this story, the owner of the investment praises the shrewd manager. So I want to say right off the bat, there is no expectation that God is the manager and Jesus is the one who is getting to cut back on his investments, and in no way indicating that God is the employer and Jesus is the shrewd manager who's going to dash around taking 50% off all of the things that we owe so that we can show up at the pearly gates. That is not the way this story works. We turn first of all to remember the words from Isaiah. The harvest is past, the summer is ended, and we are not saved. For the hurt of my poor people, I am hurt, I mourn. Dismay has taken hold of me. Is there no balm in Gilead? Sometimes we think that we live in particular times when capitalism or the free market or conversations about how we run our communal economy are particular to who we are and to our sophisticated ways of doing banking. But no, the story of this sounds pretty familiar. Somebody owes somebody something else, and in the middle there's someone doing, well, using bad business practices, selfish business practices, lazy business practices. We're not really sure why the shrewd manager hasn't actually done the work on behalf of his employer. And one of the interesting things about the story is that everybody wins except the rich man. The debtors get a break. They're only bringing part of the oil and so on back to the one to whom they owe it. The steward, the protagonist in the story, gets a whole lot of people who now owe him a favor. He's going to be dining out on that for a long time. That was his plan. So how could this possibly be a story of good news for the rich man, the one whose investments were squandered by a trusted employee? And yet in the story Jesus tells, this itinerant teacher who disarms and confuses, in the story that this Jesus tells, the owner of the investments, the master, commends the crook who's been milking him because he had acted shrewdly. And then, as if to make it easy, as if we didn't need to kind of worry about it, or I didn't need to write a sermon this week, Jesus has all these little one-liners at the end of it that kind of seem shrewd in a godly kind of a way. And when Jennifer said at the beginning of the reading, if this doesn't make sense to you, you're in good company, you are in intergenerationally good company. Undoubtedly, the reason Luke wrote this one down was that it was so odd. So odd that it needed to be passed on in case somebody might get it at some point in the future. So I'm going to offer you some possibilities. And some of you are going to go, yep, right on. And some of you are going to go, well, maybe. And some of you are going to read me in the door and go, no, it's still a bit confusing. Because I think it's still a bit confusing. It isn't simple, it isn't straightforward. It may say something about the values that go beyond the everyday living that we have, the everyday making a living. The everyday collecting debts, paying bills, going to work, dealing with retirement, income, making sure that our children are all right. It may have to do with that, but it may have to do with values that have to do with something beyond our everyday common living. It have to do with spiritual values like generosity. And that's the point where some of you know, because you think, well, of course the church is about generosity. That's how we make the world turn. So I want to add to that by telling you that when you go home and look this up, because you're still not satisfied with what it might mean, you're going to discover that it comes straight on the heels of the lost sheep that gets found, of the lost coin that the woman finds, and of the story of the two impossible brothers and their long-suffering father, the prodigal son. So Jesus has been telling his people parables about being lost and found. You lose a sheep, you go find the sheep. You rejoice, you bring your friends. You lose a coin in your house, you go find the coin, you rejoice, you bring your friends. Your younger son runs off and squanders, it's the same verb, everything that you gave him, and then you welcome him back. You can see the tension building, right? And then your older son, who's been there the whole time, faithful to you, gets really ticked off because he says you never threw a party for him. So now you've got two sons who are kind of lost and found at the same time. And so the drama builds. And Jesus comes to this parable about the shrewd manager, about the ridiculously generous employer, and about the debtors who are doing handstands down the street because they're not paying back the kind of debt they thought they were. So there's a couple of things here in the listening audience. And that is to acknowledge that the people who were listening to Jesus, well, they weren't all of them perfect. They were human beings, they were listeners and followers, they were disciples, they were scribes, they were Pharisees, they were smart people who were listening to his stories and wondering whether they would dare take a risk in making the world a different place by following Jesus. Some said yes, some said no, some were bystanders. But among them, would you ever find a completely honest or perfect person? Well, the answer is no. Because they, like us, every one of us, are trying to be honest and generous, and yet we know there are dishonest hearts that lurk around in the bottom of our hearts. And so in many ways, this is for a sermon for the dishonest among us, which is to say, all of us, which doesn't in any way mean that I'm saying that you are not wonderful people. You know that I think you're wonderful people, and you live in God's grace, right? But you also know that I know you're not perfect, which is how we can actually have a real relationship. Because you know I'm not perfect, and after this sermon, you really know I'm not perfect, right? Because I'm trying to work with a piece of scripture here that is confusing and disarming, and in the face of the way we usually do things, utterly ridiculous. There's a change that happens. This shrewd steward, called on the mat, exposed for what he has done, makes a change. He figures out how he's going to make it work. And part of the scrambling in the change that he does is he develops a nicer relationship with the debtors to whom he was assigned to go and make collections. Now it's shrewd, but it's also relational. He will be dining out on that decision for a long time to come. He will have made friends who see him as being generous. Now, the whole thing about parables, another thing about parables is they're always open-ended. We never really know whether the owner, the master, hires this guy back after being pleased with him. We don't know whether the shrewd steward takes the job back or not. We don't even know whether the debtors actually pay up, but it's all open, right? But we do know that this shrewd steward has acted with a relational value. He's gone to these people and sort of made friends. It's sneaky, it's underhanded, but he's in their good graces now. And there's something to be said for being aware of the relationships. He's translating economic realities into relational realities. But again, this is not an allegory. It's not that there is something in particular that we can find that's going to guide our way of being. It's a large story with a lot of gnarly bits. And we lean into it with an understanding of the grace of God, who is there, as Jeremiah says, when we know that our people are hurt. We lean into it with a grace that understands, as Jesus says, that we come to him as the children, as the ones who receive with joy the blessing of God. So there's something in here about a radical trust, a trust that goes beyond what we can write down in our accounting. There's something here about generosity being the best investment. And for those of you who are going to say, well, that's all right, go away with that. But for the rest of us who are saying generosity is the best investment sounds a little bit loose. Let's move a little more deeply. Jesus is speaking about systems that lift up some in order to deny and subjugate others. And there are some things, but not a lot of things that we can do about the way we trade among each other. Someone makes jam, someone else pays $5, joy abounds. Sometimes someone makes jam and gives it to the other and joy abounds, but the first person needs to be able to sell enough jam to actually bring in the bread on which to spread the jam on their own table. Trade is something we need, without question. But trade also, by definition, lifts some up and subjugates others. So those of us who are fortunate enough to be able to either make the jam or pay the $5 need to be aware that there are others who can't, because their crops are hit with too much water, or because they simply don't have the $5 to cobble together for the sweet thing. And so this parable in some way reminds us that we have power, we have privilege, and we can give some of that away. And although it may seem odd, and although it doesn't lead to correct accounting, we can give some of that power and privilege away because we can. Another point in this story that's really important, because Jesus talks about money more than Jesus talks about any other single thing in the Gospels. Another thing that's critical is to acknowledge that money in itself is not dishonest. All money is not dishonest, and, more importantly, dishonest money can be made honest again. It's kind of profound, isn't it? When I think of the things I do week by week to simply live my life, the things that you and I do every week to simply live our lives, to get in our cars, to travel to meet one another, to send love to the people who are closest to our hearts. We are always using resources on this earth that are getting thinner and thinner, and not all of those resources are being recycled and reused. And we love this earth and we want to do our best for it, but we know that not everything we do, not all of the resources we use are pure. And so to remember that all dishonest money can be made honest is a pretty profound spiritual truth. So we have a story about squandering. We have a story about an odd kind of forgiveness of debt. We have a story about a couple of very interesting individuals. The master, the employer himself, the shrewd manager. It's a great story to take home. It's a great story to be working on over the course of the week. It's also a great story. You're going to say, we knew you were getting to this because we know what the next piece of music is. It's also a great story to bring to how we make our decisions as community. In terms of the programs we offer, the love we have, the joy we have, the way we are expanded in the community, and the significant investment we've made in this building. We have made remarkably honest use of a lot of money. And we've made wonderful use of a lot of pro bono work, and a lot of leadership, and a lot of vision. We have worked, as our architect told us, with prudence and with foresight. We have worked honestly and compassionately with what we as a community see as important. It seems like a long time ago that we held focus groups. And in the focus groups, we talked about what needed to be fixed. And we talked about what we'd like to see happen. The dreams that we had for our community of faith in the wider community of the city. And loving and thoughtful minds and hands took all of those comments and sifted them into something together in our lower level. None of us got everything we wanted. Everything that we brought to the table was acknowledged and paid attention to. So here's about us being shrewd managers. I had a conversation with our architect, Ed O'Kansian, and he said, St. Paul's has worked with prudence and foresight. He said, when faced with a 60-year-old building in dire need of repair and maintenance, filled with asbestos as well as love, St. Paul's did not ignore it. St. Paul's did not choose to move away to another location. St. Paul's did not choose to sell the building and make it somebody else's problem. And St. Paul's did not choose to take it down and start from the ground up. St. Paul chose with prudence and foresight to rebuild. Congratulations. Together you have made this happen. It's not quite finished, as you know. And you have brought the shrewdness of your minds, the openness of your hearts, the generosity of your bank accounts, the investments that you have in the future of this place, brought them in the hands of a very capable architect and some excellent leadership, and made a place that we will enjoy and that generations in the future will enjoy because of prudence and foresight, shrewdness and compassion, honesty and forgiveness. Amen.
As I'm getting this set up, I will let you know that in addition to all of the lovely things that are happening in the basement, we've got new mics for the sanctuary. And so that little dance that I just did will be a thing of the past. These are lyrics for Etta James' wonderful tune that people have offered to me from the congregation, and I've kind of cobbled them together and made a song. So let's all sing along. Your part is in the basement, down in the basement. That's your part. And then after that, you follow the choir, because they'll sing in the basement, that's where it's at, a number of times.
And if the storm's taking place, then say, I'll keep you safe in the basement.
October tea, the last of our opening celebrations for the work that is there. You are aware that there is a hearing loop, and that is on loan to us from the people at the Fringe, bless their hearts, and our own hearing loop will be installed in October. There are some people coming forward to make other minute messages, and I'm glad that you are doing so. Thank you very much. This week, there will be 12 individuals standing here, each bringing 45 minutes of things that revitalize the life of faith. Rabbi Gila Kane, Professor Doris Keyser, the Reverend Dr. Malcolm Sinclair, Thursday and Friday. Lunch is provided. You are most welcome to join us if you'd like to. There is registration material in the friendship room and online. On Thursday evening, there will be time for a labyrinth walk. Karen Stewart will be here at 7 o'clock, and any of you who would like to come and be part of a labyrinth walk in the basement. For the Balm of Gilead, Holy One, we pray. For the pleasure of our minds working out problems, we ask for energy. For the compassion that draws us with Jeremiah to cry for one another. With the praise that draws us with the ancient psalmist to acknowledge your presence from the rising of the sun beyond its setting. Holy One, guide us. We bring you prayers of gratitude for the wonder of the week, for love that we know, for forgiveness that is real, for joy that guides our steps. We're grateful for neighbor and friend, for the many iterations of faith, each of them unique, all born in wonder. We're so grateful for the opportunity to live among people who are not like us, who lead us to think more seriously about our own identity, to embrace difference, and to continue to be curious. We're grateful for the warmth of the autumn, the brilliance of the elm trees and the ash, quiet movement of the river, for good work and the opportunity to do it, for leaves, the leave that takes us away from work for medical concerns or grief, that our neighbors may be cared for in time and spaciousness. We're grateful for opportunities to be together in doing good work, loving one another and serving the wide community. We bring prayers of gratitude for those who plan ahead, who use prudence and foresight, who take hold of what needs to be done, who sift the desires of the community and shift with what we need. We are grateful for all who are able to strategize, to bring stability, so that we are able to live with joy and welcome neighbor and friend and stranger in the name of that Jesus who disarmed and disarms, who confused and confuses. We ask your blessing for all who are in hospital and undergoing treatments, for all who are waiting for something that is inevitable and living in that thin time of anticipation. We pray with gratitude for the life of Dr. Robert Blackburn, and for the wonder of an older brother to Betty Mullen. Hold her in this time of change beyond his death. We pray for our neighbors and friends, Suzanne and Paul, who are walking the Camino, receiving grace and hospitality, and praying for us. We pray for our neighbors and friends Jocelyn and Dawn, who are away in England for a while, experiencing family in a different church. Bless them. And Holy One, for all, for whom this is a time of change, may your grace be a light upon their path. In the name of all we hold holy. Amen. Praise my soul, the God of heaven, number 240-240, in Voices United. May the Lord bless you and keep you. And the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May God give you grace not to sell yourselves short. Grace to risk something big for something good. Grace to remember that the world is now too dangerous for anything but truth, and too small for anything but love. May God take your minds and think through them. May God take your lips and speak through them. May God take your hands and work through them. May God take your hearts and set them on fire.